And we're live. Hi, everybody. What's happening? Welcome to another episode of Comic Convo. It's episode 2. I'm your host, Aaron, and this is my main man, John B. Um, yeah, right now the channel is called, I done switched it. It was Vital Comics. Then I changed it to Comic Safari. Now it's Comics Most Wanted. Yeah, I would have changed it another time, but Google says I only have you can only do 3 name changes in 90 days. Good thing, because I probably have like 50 if it were up to me. No, I actually settled on a name, but the Uncanny Kyle Walker, what's happening, man? How you doing, man?
Hello.
I actually can't change it right now. It's actually Comic Central, plural, on my IG. So it's my Instagram changed to comicscentral.ig. That's my IG handle, which this will be changing to in 90 days when I can change it again. Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, this is just a little visual aesthetic, some good old John Byrne loveliness.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, that's segue into what the topic of today's episode, which is art talk, and we're gonna talk a little bit about comic book alternatives. So we're just gonna talk about some artists, our favorite artists of today and yesteryear. Yeah, Kyle, I checked you out. I seen you was from New Zealand. I think I checked you out before, man. That's what's up. Thanks for checking us out, man. Awesome. You logged right in too. As soon as we started up, you hopped right on. Appreciate that, brother. So I don't know who's your top three favorite artists. We'll say 5. If you had to choose 5, or would it be easier to pick 3?
Pick 3.
Okay, choose your top 3.
John Byrne.
Okay.
We'll go with Mike Zeck and John Romita Sr.
John Romita Sr.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those Spider-Man classics, you can't beat that art.
Oh shoot! For me, it'd have to be all time. Gosh,
it's hard. This was his pick 3.
Yeah, I'm thinking more classic guys, but I'd have to say John Byrne, John Romita Jr.
Good choice.
And switch this up. My man Todd.
Todd McFarlane.
We'll throw Todd in the mix.
First issue Spawn. I love it.
Yeah. Even though, I mean, there's so many artists, in between that could be filled in. Yeah. Jack Kirby, Ballin, Alan Davis. Yeah, Alan Davis did the cover to X-Men 213 with Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting on the cover. I think that's Alan Davis.
Bob Layton did a lot of good work, especially when he left Marvel. He did Iron Man, then he left and went to Valiant, did Magnus Road. In fact, I think he penciled or assisted in the penciling of almost every Valiant title when they first came out.
Bob Layton. Now, we got to keep it 100. We got to keep it honest. Back in the day, I really did not like the art of Iron Man. I just thought he was too muscular to be in an armored suit. He was just. It's like he had on I was like, does the guy have on an armor suit or does he have on latex, spandex? Because you can see he was like every other superhero. So that's why I didn't really like Bob Layton's style. He was a good artist.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me more of like.
His X-O Manowar and his Magnus Robot Fighter, some of my favorite comics.
Yeah,
that he did. He did an outstanding job.
I mean, he's not a bad artist. He just wasn't one of my faves.
How about Walt Simonson?
Oh gosh, let me tell you something about Walt Simonson. I used to go ahead. John's gonna leave us for a minute to answer his
guys.
phone. But just bring it with you, man. I got mine sitting right here. Talking about Walt Simonson. We'll scoot in the middle here. Yeah, talking about Walt Simonson. When I first started drawing, and I was really into switch back to my man John B. Because he's probably my all-time favorite, especially from when I was growing up as a kid. He's probably like my top. John Byrne was my top guy, and nobody could even come close to him. So he was the epitome of art as far as I was concerned. So when I saw Walt Simonson come out and he's doing X Factor, I was mad because you got to remember, I think the first, I don't think Walt Simonson started doing X Factor until issue number 10. Until then, it was by a guy named Jackson Juice or Guice or Guice is how his name is pronounced, if I'm correct. And it has a style that's kind of similar. Jackson Guice, if I remember, or Juice, or however you say his last name. He has a style that was kind of similar to Bob Layton's. So when Walt Simonson came in and started doing X Factor, I was like, oh my God, this guy sucks. This guy was doing Thor and Beta Ray Bill. This guy sucks, right? Now, you gotta remember, John Byrne is my epitome. And at the time, I was penciling a lot myself. So I was really looking at, artists and pencilers and stuff like that. So when I seen that he had taken over X Factor, I was miffed. But then, because I'm penciling, I started to actually pick up bits and pieces of his style and really appreciate his artwork. I'd say by the time we got to like issue number 15, where Angel died, lost his wings, I was a fan of Walt Simonson.
I love Beta Ray Bill.
I love the way he drew hands. I like, especially in that my ashy knuckles. That he draw hands like that. Walt Simonson is the man. I mean, I love his artwork. Same thing with Frank Miller. You got to add him on the list.
Yeah.
Because okay, this is like a subdivision of what I was talking about. I like artists who can change their style up a bit. Like currently, if you look at Josh Middleton, his Aquaman run. Now I have, he's on number 39 now. So I have, all his B covers from 1 to 39. I'm not missing many, and a lot of those covers, he did them all. But I mean, to the untrained eye, you wouldn't be able to tell this is one guy because his styles flip. I mean, he switches styles. I appreciate that. Much like producers in music. I mean, they don't just stick to one sound. I like producers to where, you'll be surprised. You hear a song like, oh, Timbaland did this, or, oh, Quincy Jones did that, or, Paul McCartney produced this. It's so surprising because you don't expect them to do something like that because it's out of the norm. I love when people are able to switch up their styles. Case in point, we'll say Barry Smith, not Barry Windsor Smith, Barry Smith. Now, I was totally surprised looking at some early Daredevils at a former friend's collection, and we saw Barry Smith. Now, this artwork it looked like he was Jack Kirby's brother drawing or something. Like he went to the school of Jack Kirby. And I'm not a fan of Jack Kirby's art.
I am. It grew on me. It had to grow on me. And you know what's really, he excelled in 2 areas. One of them was perspective. There was so much action in his panels because of his master perspective. And also, if you look at the emotion in their faces.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't like about it. All his faces were ugly.
Oh, yeah, but they had a lot of emotion in it. He had kind of an ugly style, but he really knew how to put together some action panels.
Blocky square knees and
you know what else grew on me?
Square. I mean, everything about Jack Kirby was square. I can appreciate it now that I'm older and his story and but his art, his art kind of stuck. My dad loved it, and I loved my dad's art, and my dad tried to emulate him. So, I mean, subliminally, yeah, but outright, if like we're talking right now, not a fan of Jack Kirby. And like I was saying, Barry Windsor Smith in the early Daredevil days, we're talking about by what's my man's name? Who else used to draw Daredevil?
Oh, I don't remember.
Conway or
Jerry Conway?
Yeah, Jerry Conway. I think this is before he got on. And Conway Conway's a little bit. He didn't have no Jack Kirby in him, but Barry Windsor Smith, that was Barry Smith at the time, did. Now I'm like thinking, no, that's not Barry Windsor Smith, because I'm thinking of Barry Windsor Smith from X-Men 205 and, Marvel Presents, all that, X-Men 212. And I was like, no, that can't be the same Barry Smith. I mean, this is Barry Windsor Smith, and this is just Barry Smith, and this is like some Jack Kirby shit. Yeah. But we looked it up, and it's the same guy. So the older he got, his style evolved, his style changed. He actually went through 3 different phases because there's the early Daredevil phase where he looked a lot like Jack Kirby. Then there's the early Conan from like issue, I want to say 13, 14, 15.
That was some great art he did in Conan.
Yeah, he did a couple, some covers and, the early Conans in the teens. And those were different from obviously the Jack Kirby days. But even that, then the early Conan is different than, like I was saying, the later X-Men and, stuff he started doing, after, which I love. So, yeah, I actually did not like Barry Windsor Smith at first. I'm talking about the X-Men. When I saw X-Men 205 with Wolverine on the cover, all laid up and on wires and shit, I was like, what the hell is this? This guy sucks. He sucks. But
he grew on me. You know what else? Art evolved was John Romita Jr. He drew very different style when he did Daredevil with Typhoid Mary. Remember those issues? And when Daredevil fought Ultron, he had a unique style to him, and I loved it.
You're talking about Junior.
Yeah, Junior. Yeah, I loved it. But he's evolved more to a I don't know what you would say. I guess more mainstream type art. And
I
like his old stuff.
I hear people say that. I mean, that's the current knock on JR. Yeah. But I don't see it. I still see the JR I seen from. Every time I think of John Romita Jr., I always think of that X-Men cover where Colossus and Juggernaut are fighting in the bar and they're playing clothes. Or that X-Men cover, what was it, X-Men 207, where Wolverine's ripping the page, down with his claws. You can go later. He started doing Black Panther series in the I'm gonna say early 2000s, like 2003, somewhere around there. Started doing that. I've always loved his work from, like I said, his early X-Men days, because. You got to remember, it was Byrne. Then after Byrne, it was Cockrum. I think Cockrum did some more.
I was never a fan of Cockrum.
I like Al Milgrom.
Oh,
we're talking about the ugly artist.
Steve Lee Aloha.
Oh man. That's my man Ed Pisker. Some of these dudes just have no business drawing comic books, but. So we had there was an artist right after or right before John Romita Jr. named Paul Smith. Loved his art. Paul Smith's art was dope. Paul Smith is the guy, if you remember that X-Men cover where Cyclops is walking away. I guess he's leaving the team.
Yeah, he quit.
Yeah, he's in all black cover. That's Paul Smith. Paul Smith, I tried to emulate him a lot. And then later years you got like Ron Lim. When Ron Lim hit the scene, boy,
I like Ron Lim.
Because like I said, Silver Surfer 1 through got Marshall Rogers, I think the guy's name was. Hated. I didn't like his art.
I liked it.
I mean, it was all right. It just wasn't my thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't. You got to think. I wasn't around at the time when my dad's Silver Surfer series came out, with Mephisto #3 and all that shit. I wasn't around then. but I'd always clamored for it. So when they finally came out with a Silver Surfer series in '87,
which I love,
which I was eagerly anticipating, and I loved just because it was there. It wasn't quite because of the art, man.
I got no complaints with that Silver Surfer series.
I did not like that dude's the first 13 issues. I mean, the stories were good. I mean, but the art, it was cool. It was just wasn't.
Now I wish I remember which exact issue it was. He was standing on a surfboard and he just had so much anger in his face. He said, "Get off my board!" And that was good art, man. A good emotion.
Yeah,
it was, and the stories were so out there. I love that.
Yeah,
it was just a solid series. I'm a big fan of that.
But when Ron Lim hit the scene,
it got even better.
Nobody had ever seen nothing like that before.
That was good art.
And can't forget about my man Art Adams.
Art Adams, yeah, he's a good artist, but I was never a huge fan.
I was. When Art Adams hit the scene, it was like he was like to me he was like Todd McFarlane before Todd McFarlane.
Yeah,
because he was new. He had this kind of off-kilter style. You know what I mean? Everything was kind of disproportionate in a good way. Like if you look at Wolverine's mask, it was his things was big and his claws were kind of angular and big. And
I remember.
Big thighs and big fists and big guns. You know what I mean? His style was, and he still draws like that. Art Adams has still got pretty much the same style. I'm not mad at that.
You know who draws big guns is Mike Zack.
Yeah,
remember that Punisher where it showed his back in the limited series?
Yeah.
You can show a movie on his back.
Yeah. And he still draws like that. There's a variant cover out right now for Punisher #1. I think it's an incentive variant, so it's a little bit more. But Mike Zack still doing his thing, man. Wow. Still doing his thing.
I haven't seen him in years. Wow.
Yeah, and he knows it too. That's why he's on one of them incentive variant covers. If you want Mike, you got to pay a little more.
Yeah.
There's a few artists out there right now that could still be doing some work that I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing Byrne, obviously, or Zack still gets down.
These guys are retired now. They're retirement age.
Shoot. How awesome would it be to see Ditko do? See, Ditko does variant still.
Oh, you know who we didn't mention? We gotta give love to DC. George Perez.
Oh, shoot.
What an artist. I loved everything he did. Crisis on Infinite Earths, Wonder Woman. He was on fire.
Now, I wasn't a big, speaking of, we better stop shaking this table. I wasn't a big DC guy.
Oh, I always was.
But when Byrne Byrne started doing Superman, Man of Steel.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I got interested, and I was always interested in the was it the Who's Who?
Who's Who? He did a lot of. You know who did a lot of those portraits on Who's Who was George Perez.
Yeah, no, not the portraits, just DC. I'm talking about my turnover to them. That's why I started taking notice. And then with the Crisis on Infinite Earths,
that was so
and
good.
I know Perez did the covers on those. I still do. I love George Perez's art. Who just did a variant cover for that? Was it the Infinity Wars Prime #1? The one that it's one of them, not the brothers that the brothers do, the Hildebrand brothers or whatever. He does the one where Thanos is going like this, looking up. But there are a couple of those old guys, a couple of those old geezers still doing their thing, man. Pay anybody enough money, they'll come out the woodworks. Shout out to John Byrne, DC Universe, book full of his. You can see how thick this book is.
Full of his artwork.
Full of John Byrne's DC artwork. Lovely stuff.
It's good. He did back when I was still buying new comics. He did Ghost, Adam Hughes. Now he does cover art a lot.
Adam Hughes.
Now when Ghost came out, he did the whole comic.
I've actually seen
not
that.
just the covers, but now you only see him doing covers. He did a lot of covers for Wonder Woman. He does a lot of covers now.
Yeah, that's all he does. I mean, I collect Adam Hughes covers.
But he did do an entire comic. Ghost was his comic.
Yeah, I've seen a couple
from College Greatest World.
I've seen a couple of people show those on a couple of YouTube channels. I haven't seen any in the wild though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Hughes just did that Superman #2 cover. He's done a lot of cover work lately. A lot of people are getting kind of, how do you say, maybe like the thrill is gone. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I still love his art.
Yeah, his art's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm keep it 100. I don't know if I want to say it's overrated. Because a lot of times these cover artists, I'm like, yeah, you can draw covers hella good, but I mean, what can you do as far as pencils on the inside of a book? I mean, can you actually?
Well, that's what I
said.
He did do Ghosts, the whole thing.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I'm talking about now.
Well, he's an old man now.
No, he still does stuff. He actually did. If you guys pick up the new Man of Steel series, #5, that whole series, I think, is a 6-issue limited series. So each issue is done by different artists. #5 in particular is penciled by Adam Hughes primarily. I think there's a few pages in there where he doesn't do the art. I think they kind of switch off a little bit within the book, but he does a good solid chunk of the book. And dare I say, I kind of like him better as a cover artist.
Who would you say is your favorite modern artist doing comics today?
Man, I almost got to put him in 2 categories because it's like, I mean, is he a real artist or is he a cover artist? Does the guy do actual?
We'll say full artist.
Full artist.
Full
I like what's my man's name? Gosh, I like Steve McNiven a lot. I like Oliver Copio as far as penciling whole issues. I do like Greg Capullo, and I do like Ryan Stegman, who's doing Venom. Yeah, I like those guys.
You should know who my pick would be.
Who?
Frank Cho, Monkey Boy.
Oh yeah, Frank Cho.
He is my favorite. He's got sharp lines, beautiful art.
Yeah, but he doesn't do comics no more. He's just a.
He did when I read him.
No, he's just a cover artist now, mainly for Harley Quinn and stuff. I mean, yeah, you got that issue. He did do that one. He did a.
Did he do Shannon the She-Devil also?
He did Skyborn more recently through Boom Studios. #1 I gave you. He did all of that. I think he wrote, penciled, and inked that.
Wow.
So I mean, that's his brainchild, I think. But I don't think it really went anywhere, although it is fairly recent. Yeah, I wasn't. Shout out to Terry Austin, though.
Oh, the ultimate inker.
Oh, man.
The man has skills. He can make any artist look good.
Because, look, this is Dave Cockrum. And like I said, we can't stand Dave Cockrum. But Terry Austin inked this.
Yeah.
And he made it look damn good. Damn near like John Byrne did.
Hey, we got to be careful. We're doing sacrilege hating on Dave Cockrum.
Hey, I know.
Claremont Cockrum. That's the team
that wrong, man. That's the CNC Music Factory right there. Okay, so we were also talking about on the drive over here. We were talking about comic book alternatives nowadays. Whether you guys read them digitally. John likes to pick up a lot of graphic novels because he doesn't want to open up his floppies. So whether it's omnibus, graphic novels, TPBs, trade paperbacks, or digital, that's what you got going nowadays. I mean, what's you guys' take on that? Because I'm not an omnibus guy. I'm reading the graphic novels you gave me now, the Super Sons. Those are awesome, by the way.
Hey, let me grab one real quick. Okay. I got to give love to it.
It's cool. Like I say, it's convenient because there's going to be a time where I don't want to open up my floppies. Although, man, I don't know. It's just something about going and doing like this and like taking it out and flipping it open, smelling that old school.
Yeah. Then the ads. Man, you gotta love the old ads.
That's 1970 right there. That smells like 1970 to me, folks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, there's an experience that you. I mean, come on, look at that. You're not gonna find that. I don't know if they keep the newer advertisements like they did. And shout out to Boys of Summer. What's up, Kev? I just left Kev's shop a little bit ago, and they had that new Fantastic Four #1. It's not a True Believers or nothing like that. It's an actual reprint of the very first issue. You guys should go out and grab it. The only reason why I didn't is because I'm working on a budget, and he had a stack of them, so it's not like I'm going to miss it. But for them to basically do the whole book over again, Fantastic Four #1, you guys know how many times that book's been reprinted, how much it's loved, and how expensive it is. For them to do a book that's slightly upgraded with all the original advertisements, plus a little bit of fanfare story in the back, and a portrait studio gallery, of all the covers of previous Fantastic Four #1s. That's hot for $4, man.
Well, I know this is expensive, but it's well worth buying. This is Jack Kirby's Fourth World. If you ever wanted to read about Dark Side, Apocalypse, Mr. Miracle, it's all in here. Great book. Recommend it to anyone. It hurt buying it. It is not cheap. You can see how thick it is, and the book's not cheap. But Jack Kirby. It's probably some of the best work he ever did.
Shoot, throw that bad boy up here.
Oh,
will it fit?
I don't know. It's pretty big.
That's a omni bus. That's where that word comes in.
You're gonna need a bus.
This is a book. Damn, this one got some weight on it. Shit, I lift weights and I'm gonna curl this. Damn. What the hell? Damn, they're breaking my stand. Shit, yeah. Yeah, but that's awesome, man. Yeah, so this oh man, I'd lose myself in something like this. You know what I mean? It's cool. I'm probably gonna start getting into omnibuses. The only reason why I haven't yet is because there's no market for it, like resale market for it that I'm aware of. It's not like you can hop on eBay. I mean, I see trade paperbacks of current, popular titles like Thor: God of Thunder.
You can sell them, but they don't appreciate.
Yeah. So, as a matter of fact, they depreciate.
Yeah.
It seems like they always go for half off, and they be brand new. So that's, like I said, nothing can beat the experience of a floppy, obviously. But these are damn convenient. Like I said, there's going to be a time where real soon coming up where I'm getting books slabbed that I'm just simply not physically going to be able to get to and open anymore, where I probably will start, picking up, omnibuses and TPBs and graphic novels. Because like I said, I'm enjoying that Super Sons you let me borrow. Shoot, I lose track of time. I'm sitting there, I'm reading issue after issue with these. You get done and you put them down, and but with a graphic novel or this, I mean, it's easy to, because you just nonstop. It's all there. You know what I mean? So, yeah. What about digital? You into the digital?
I do have digital. Maybe it's probably me because I'm dumb when it comes to being working with digital stuff. But I've got the Armor Wars on my phone. I got what else do I have? The Wolverine Limited Series. I got Harley Quinn on my phone. I just read it on there when I'm out and about, and got time to kill, or waiting for them to change the oil on my car or something. Read those digital copies. I do it. I got DC and Marvel, even though what I have is Comixology.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got it, I didn't know it was Comixology, so I got the DC app and the Marvel app, and I purchased some comics in both of them. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that Comixology did the whole thing. It would probably save me a bunch of headaches trying to get that stuff online if I had just bought it through Comixology.
Well, now DC got their new streaming service out. Shoot, I tried to download a digital comic the other day. It didn't work. It just, for all the trouble, I'm making a login, and it wouldn't let me do it. And it's just a whole lot of
Yeah,
it was more trouble than it was worth.
Definitely was not. I wouldn't consider user friendly, but it's probably me making mistakes on mistakes. A lot of people use it.
I don't think so.
Because I've had trouble with the apps.
Yeah, it's kind of,
and you know what I have trouble with? Same thing you did, signing in.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, I could have read 2 books with all the time this is taking. Well, anyway, y'all, this is a short episode. It's already half an hour. We just wanted to see who we could get online. Uncanny Kyle Walker, thank you for tuning in, brother. Yeah, that was it. We got 2 thumbs up, but one person watching right now. So whoever's watching, if that's you, Kyle, thank you. If that's somebody else, thank you in advance. And thank you to all those who's going to tune in later on and check us out. Thanks for always dropping in, checking out, giving us your support. So click like, share, subscribe. Make sure I'm your friend because you're my friend. And one of these days, this guy is going to have his own channel. You can be his friend too. Make sure you check out podcast. He's always hosting Retro Nerds 252. Check out their YouTube channel.
And Retro Recast. Check that out.
Retro Recast. Just go to Retro Nerds 252. You can find out all the episodes on there. So yeah, that's it, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all be safe. All our best. Each one teach one. Tell your friends about us, and y'all keep hunting them down. I'm Aaron. That's John B. Signing out for right now. Comics Most Wanted. Forgot what I call myself. Formerly Vital Comics. Formerly Comic Safari. Soon to permanently be Comic Central. So, thank y'all for tuning in. And I'll see y'all on the next one. All right. See you in a minute, y'all. Peace.